Hey, Kliq This fans, want to get closer to the show than ever? Join Kliq This TV. Kliq This TV offers early commercial-free access to wrestling's hottest podcast, plus live audience tapings of their show every friggin' week. Head to kliqthistv.com now and get inside the show that's just too sweet.
The following podcast contains mature language and adult discussions.
Hey, Kev. I meant to ask you if Cooper made out at all last night, or did nothing go home?
No, nothing went home.
Okay.
Nothing got by me.
Midge hammered out a sizable portion
Of Wagyu, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's got the life. But Kliq This, by the way, the Kevin Nash podcast. I'm Sean. He's Kevin. Disoriented by my view again today because I am down here in Florida again, and because of that, Kevin and I and family went out to eat last night, and my wife didn't. There we are. There's the group. That's the Lestat the vampire photo with the when he used the flash and everyone's eyes got.
I don't know. Why did he do that? I'm like, nobody uses a flash.
Nobody uses a fucking flash. You know, these cameras are so sensitive. It's you don't need it. But now, Nicole, having lived through the last experience, didn't want you to be aware of something that happened. And I don't know if you were aware because Tamara probably heard it because they were sitting next to each other. They had to make her another steak. Did you know this?
They had to make your wife another steak.
Okay, so what happened was she got, I think, a 6 ounce, right? And she ate it. She ate about half, say 3 ounces. So she said to the guy at the table, she said, "Can you wrap this, please?" And then my little one, I think, wrapped hers too. They went to the kitchen. And at a point, the boy, we had the two waiters, the boy comes out, leans in and says, "Ma'am, it's going to be a few minutes. We threw away your steak, but we're going to make you a 3-ounce steak that you can take home." So that's why we waited a little bit before we left, because they had to make the steak.
So, man, I'm that much of a big bad wolf that the guys, people are hiding shit around me.
She made it a point to tell me he was very quiet, and she stayed very quiet as well. So, because other than that,
they were fine. They were great.
They were fine. It was fun. We made a return.
You pissed off Pacino's partner with the fucking Old Fashioned.
You know what?
You know what? That's pretty annoying.
That's what he said to me. So I ordered, just because it's ceremony now, the cask of the Amontadillo comes out, and they open my smoking Old Fashioned, which wasn't as good last night as it was the first time. It didn't retain enough of the smoke. I probably didn't leave it in long enough. So you open it, and yes, there's a bit of an incense at your, right before they remove the casket. It is a little bit like that. Fills that part of the room. So behind me, 2 cats. One I couldn't see, and the other one, Kevin happily pointed out, looked very much like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. I forget the character name, but the long greasy haired version of Robert. He just didn't have the white cap.
No, I didn't have the white cap.
So I hear the dude, after it comes out, the waiter's taking their order. He's like, "What is that?" I guess he was pointing to me. And that's how the kid, thinking he's going to sell one, goes, "Oh, that's our smoking Old Fashioned." He goes, "Well, that's annoying." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. He'll probably close it in a few minutes." Half of me wanted to just take it and just, like the incense, maybe.
See, I didn't hear that. I would have ordered one immediately. We should have ordered one for their table.
For the room.
For their table.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Oh God.
It would have been brilliant. But
so we both came up with the same observation that no matter where you go, like Sean and I were at one end of the table, and we were like having a discussion. We were just talking like no louder than we're talking right now. And there's this table of like 6, and they're not even yucking. It's just a conversation. And I don't know if it looked like it was probably a business type situation.
They seemed a little buttoned up and heavily male, maybe 5-to-1.
Yeah,
ratio.
but at the same time, it's almost like, how can you possibly have a conversation when there's 5 people at a table and all 5 are in the process of dialogue, like
simultaneously?
Yes, like doesn't somebody have to and you have to listen. People don't listen. People just look at the person across from them and come up with their next thing that
Thinking about what they're going to say.
Yeah, and once you give them something that they disagree with, they're already putting together their closing argument.
No rebuttal.
No, it's just like, and that pisses me off because sometimes like you can just tell you lose them.
Yeah.
Because you'll give them like a little, like, nothing. Oh, okay. What did I just say? All right.
Distracted by that schnot hanging out of your nose.
Yeah.
So anyway, your point is the sheer volume of one table. It wasn't like laughter and boisterous like jokes. It was just talking. They were talking at a volume that was unconscionable.
Unbelievable.
And I'd had one behind me at the airport the day before. And I said to my wife, I said, is he talking across the room or is his family with him? I just can't understand.
Tamara and I went to our little favorite restaurant on the beach. I think it was Friday night. And there was this group in the we had a back table. They were in a booth to the side of us. And there was a cartoon when I was a kid. It would play, and remember they used to play a cartoon before the movie at the theaters?
A touch before my time, but I do know that it happened.
And like one of the most, I remember The Simpsons actually playing before movies.
Oh, so that's not before my time. That's just a different
so
theater.
if you go back before that, it was the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
And you go back before that, it was just an animated
newsreels.
short.
Remember the newsreels?
No,
too.
that's before my time.
That's Germany is attacked.
So Lou Gehrig. They had this one, and this guy's like having a nervous breakdown because he can't get any sleep. And he'll go home and you hear this laughing, this person playing a horn, and this other, like a woman laughing, and he goes on and he goes back to the doctor. The doctor gives him sleeping pills. Goes back and forth like 2 or 3 different times. Finally, he checks into a hotel, and he's laying in bed, and all of a sudden this exact same noise goes on, and he face turns red, and it's real close up where his head was like smoke coming out of his ears, and he kicks the door open, and there's the doctor and the nurse that he's been seeing this whole time. He's the guy. The doctor's playing a horn. She's sitting on his lap, and he'd play the horn, and then she would laugh, and he'd laugh, and that was the gist of it. But that resonated with me my entire life because that's those people at the tables. Because it's just like, it's so cutting because we're just, I'm just not not a super loud person. Like if I can not talk, then I just would just assume not talk.
That's the other thing too. People feel the need to fill the vacuum with discussion. There's nothing wrong with 2 adults sitting in silence and looking at a menu or eating or whatever the fuck.
Taking each other's inseam measurements. You never know if we can end up in Hong Kong.
Precisely. But the postscript to the guys behind me when I opened my Old Fashioned, at one point, wasn't when he was objecting was later when they were talking to the waiter. I did hear one of them say, "Nah, I don't do that. I'm from Jersey." I was like, "Fuck." So we could have done the Florida man and Jersey guy right down there. The objection.
Yeah,
Steve, do you have my drink there, Steve?
Looks like his buddy was a Florida man.
He was a little
like
stumbling, rumbling, bumbling to get out of there. Did you catch that?
They both fight. I thought the one guy was going to take a spill on you.
Yeah, that was so. Here's the. So this is the actual. This is what comes to the table, and then it's it was pretty intense. Maybe I should have left it longer. And then you retrieve.
It always reminds me of a Scooby-Doo, if I can gimmick.
Holding the lantern.
Yeah, that's the lantern. Fucking it's old man Oliver, and I would have got away with him if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
That was
I knew we were gonna have a good night when they brought us the double fried lobster entree
compliments
appetizer.
of the chef.
Yes, compliments of the chef. And then the manager who never came over one time, but hovered around to make sure that this thing worked. It was as seamless as it could possibly be.
Yeah, everyone was on their best behavior, but listen, should be that way when you go to an establishment that expects you to.
Especially if you're dropping coin, man.
Absolutely.
It's one thing if you're getting a burger, shoved in a bag at a window. That's one thing, but if you put on a shirt with a collar, by God, you need to fucking step up your game a little bit. What brand was your shirt last night? Is it Kenneth Cole?
What was I wearing?
It was a black. It was a zip.
I had a zipper. You know what? I'll text it to you. I'm packed for tomorrow.
I used to have a Kenneth Cole shirt that almost
it could be.
It almost matched that.
It might be.
It was a great shirt, but I was still in that period where I heavily sweat. After about 3 seasons, man, you put that sumbitch on, and as soon as you break a sweat, boys, that fucking Kenneth Cole smell like kitty litter.
It kicks in every time you wore it for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Including the 3 times that somebody smoked a hot box in a car. So
so great night, fine across the board, nothing. So I think we should make proper and shout out Hyde Park,
Daytona Beach. Kudos, great meal. Got to meet both your daughters in person. So I got to see your lovely wife again. It's weird because I told Tamara, I said, it's so weird to have the relationship I have with Sean. And she just said, what do you mean? I thought you guys are like best friends. I said, yeah. I said, but I see Sean like once a year or once every 8 or 9 months. I said, but in essence, I said, once our crew gets off and, gets off the screen and we start the show, I said, it's just Sean and I. I said, I don't spend this much time on a weekly basis talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And I said, and it's not like because you don't, this is this is by far one of my closest relationships that I have in my life is with you. And
the thing is too, you better be able to have, if you're going to do this, if I'm going to sit and read you questions that somebody else wrote about SummerSlam, then fine. You could do that with anybody. But if you're going to come on and be able to go anywhere and agree or disagree or whatever, and have the freedom to go, all right, well, fuck it then. Fuck you. I'm not going to. Then you have to have a good relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
And when I was leaving, your wife said, which I will never repeat, one of the nicest things. She was a little, she said something very nice to me, and not for air. And I was like, wow, okay. And just in relation to the last couple of years and you and maybe my part in something, if
right,
if it's true. And it was quite nice. So she's a very astute young lady, and the two of our broads would be attached at the hip if I lived there.
Oh yeah,
it's probably a good thing. That
it's great, but it's the same thing though. It's just like you're going on a Disney cruise, like that's like Tamara's going on a Disney cruise in a couple months. Like it's just like the there's the sense and sensibilities of those two are very much alike.
Mm-hmm.
And their mom, I mean, they're moms. That's what they are before they're anything.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was my wife's. So there's a love fest here today, by the way, everybody. If you're waiting for us to shit on anybody, that's coming. Just wait. It said authentic. That's how she described Tamara. She said she's so authentic. She's like her heart's on her sleeve. Like when she talks to you, she's just so open. So very good. I'm glad everyone gets along and all that. It makes for nice occasions like that.
And it's one of those things, like today when we're still having some problems with her hip, and it's just like I said, fuck, if we have to push this trip back, we have to push the trip back, like, and she started getting choked up, and she's like, well, I'm never gonna finish this trip. I'm like, we're gonna finish this trip. We're
the right way.
Yeah, it's like I've already seen everything we're gonna go to see in the next 6 months. I've seen, so it's like I'm the tour guide, so I can't be the tour guide if you're beat up.
Well,
you can't be in worse shape than you can't be in worse physical shape than the 65-year-old ex-wrestler.
Who's the tour guide?
Yeah, who's the tour guide? You
listen,
can't be in worse.
The terrain where you were going, it does not lend itself to a wheelchair. First of all, to anyone with a cane, but then even a wheelchair, you're not going to be able to get.
You can't. I mean, that's my whole thing. I said, we can get in an S class and drive around and see shit. I said, but you got to go down the streets so the car doesn't even fit to get around half these places. It's like, I really don't think they're going to let us pull an S class up to the Vatican and walk into the Sistine Chapel.
It's kind of tight in there.
Sorry, man, pro wrestler. We're just going to go in. So,
Oz.
Yeah.
Oz.
Right, me know me as Oz.
But you went home and watched Raw. I'm very impressed. I did not have the energy to do so after.
Well, I knew we were short ordered. We didn't really. There were some really good things on Raw last week, and we didn't cover it. But I just wanted, because we hadn't talked about SummerSlam, so I wanted to cover being backstage in the SummerSlam experience. Yeah. But I thought that maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, I said that when Rhea first said she was off, like she just didn't, and then she came out last night, and when she went to the ring, like her movement when she was like in front of the hard camera was like a fucking, I don't know, panther.
Mm-hmm.
She had everything that makes her what she is, which is to me the best thing on the show. Both shows, probably by far my favorite character, is her, and she was spot on. And there was this, if anybody that follows the storyline at SummerSlam, Dominique fucked her and turned on her, and she ended up not getting the championship. And she had a line where she said, that Dom, you stabbed me in the back, but I'm sure you've heard this many times in your life. It just wasn't deep enough. And I thought, good for you. Slip it by standards of practices like we used to.
Getting ready for Netflix.
Yeah, but she's, and the thing is like I'll see pictures of her on Instagram because I follow her. And like with no makeup and shit, like she's kind of a Billie Eilish pretty, she's a different soul, she's different. But just when it comes to just natural beauty, she's naturally very beautiful, structurally, bone structure, everything else, nose. And then when she does, her makeup and becomes the character, it's so, God, it's so fucking Bob Fosse all that jazz, than it is
Dark
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah, it's just she's
You're
a
big
fucking,
sexy. She could be dark sexy.
she's a fucking stud, man.
Very good. So you watched the whole show?
Yeah, I watched the whole show. Let's see what I don't particularly care for the back and forth, the promo, and then like Randy came down and started his promo. It's kind of cool because I've never noticed, and I didn't look like Randy had ever noticed that they are singing the words to his song now, his theme song.
His entrance, yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of like, and maybe I haven't paid attention. He's big as a fucking house. His legs are gigantic.
I was going to ask you about the new Randy.
Yeah,
What's he doing?
He's
Changed
training
up the
hard,
regiment
man.
a little?
Well, he just signed a 5-year extension, so I mean, gotta play the game. I'll tell you what, if he's a 14-time world champion, if he wins the 15th, there'd be a chance for a 16th. So something to keep your eyes on, kids. He just kind of sat back and he had like a smile on his face, like, oh, they're singing my shit now too, and because he's really not been on Raw that much, and then of course 2.5 minutes into it, oh my God, I can't believe Gunther's music plays, and down he comes, and they had the face off, and it was good back and forth, and then McIntyre came at the perfect time, said he was gonna gonna do that earlier. As soon as McIntyre came down, Orton RKO'd him, Gunther, and then out of the crowd came CM Punk, who they had said had travel problems, and attacked McIntyre, put the belt to him, beat him around the building. And what made it to me was, and I always talk about attention to details, they caught Punk backstage after the incident, and the girl that was doing the backstage said, "You said that you had flight problems, but you were on the same flight that I was to Austin." He said, "Yeah, I said next to you." And he says it was just a little white lie. It was just the fact that he lied to Kathy and told her that he was
tied up, and
he had So I thought it was good. They had the New Day had a segment. They brought out God, what's his name? Is it Impossible Jones? What's the big black dude's name?
Before I get off
Steve, you there?
Odyssey Jones, isn't it?
Odyssey Jones.
Yeah, Odyssey.
Sounds like something from the Cartoon Network. They just can't come up with shit, can they? The Adventures of Odyssey Jones.
Do you think Gunther is, before we get off the Gunther segment, you think he's a transitional to get this back to Orton since he's long term, or do you think there's a commitment to Gunther?
No, it's. I think Gunther's going to have this for a while. I think he's the guy you got to go with. You got to go with that. Plus, there's too many baby faces have belts right now. So.
Okay.
Got to keep it. When your top guy is Cody, is your undisputed champion, then you don't want Randy having the Raw heavyweight title. You kind of want that on a heel, and Gunther's the perfect guy to do it, because Gunther is much like, Gunther's like Shawn Michaels. Not in work style, but in psychology, where he can make somebody and still heel and beat them and get out of there with the belt week after week after week. and then built his heat. So
We got the answer to
they had a statistic. I don't know how real it is, but I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't have said it because it's something that I would probably look up if I was, a diehard. But they said that Gunther has been, since he's been with the WWE, has been a champion 75% of the time he's been with them, which is unprecedented. So I thought that was. And then
if that's true, that is impressive. I think it's AI, though. I don't believe it. I just think it's AI that he really wasn't champion for all that time.
Oh.
First, I'll say Photoshop. And then when people say, well, this freaking video isn't Photoshop, bro, then I go, well, then it's AI then.
Well, I like it if you take a picture and people are there's a plane in the background and people say, well, clearly you can't see anything on their screens. Well, if you've ever been next to somebody and they're looking at their phone and you're looking right next to them, all they've got to do is turn it 1/16 of an inch and you can't make out the image on their phone. So if a bunch of people are trying to take a picture of two people getting off of I looked at that and I said, wow, that's what you've come up with, Watson.
Yeah.
Lovely.
More important than the issues.
No, absolutely.
This is the road we're on.
The crowd of 14,000, which has been covered by news sources, like the Arizona crowd, and I'm just so happy, because I love sports and I love competition, and after the first debate, it was like Trump was Mike Tyson. Like Trump was he knocked Biden out. Not that Biden. Not
it was
that
like
Biden,
me fighting Mike Tyson.
Not that Biden had a pulse, but then all of a sudden it's just like now we have a different set of circumstances, a different candidate, an energy, a momentum, but at the same time, like Trump he's the best heel. So like what's he gonna what's the heel gonna do? Because he ain't gonna lay down. So
no, it's all professional wrestling. I mean, this is yeah. And even after the 3 count, he doesn't accept the loss.
No,
he's going to grab the belt and hit her while she's celebrating.
Or in the old days, you just take the tape of the match, the master. Nobody,
Oh, erase the tape.
Yeah, you erase the tape, and then nobody can see it. So no, I think it's interesting. I think it's good TV. It's good politics. It's good for the country. I mean, and I think also because a guy like that Wolz is running for vice president. He had a speech today. They're questioning his patriotism and his service and all this other shit, because that's what you do.
Yeah, nobody who's a self-respecting veteran is doing that.
Nobody that's raised their hand to protect our Constitution and give up their life, and that's what we do when we raise our hand. Is we don't say, I solemnly swear
to have bone spurs.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't say to be a dictator or anything else. Is to defend the Constitution of the United States, and we give up our life to do it. And that's what we do. Is when we join, that's what we do. And if you haven't done your time, if you haven't done your service, then you have no fucking you don't have a dog in the fight. You can't say anything. It's like talking about what a coxman you are and you're a virgin. Sorry, dude, you don't get to talk about it. So a guy that does 24 years as a command sergeant major against somebody that was a specialist and was a correspondence. I mean, he's a correspondence guy. He wasn't. It was one thing if Vance was, Demolition's team. So if he was SEAL Team 6, he could say anything he wants. But Writing for Stars and Stripes, you're Matthew Modine and fucking...
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, you're Matthew Modine and Full Metal Jacket, man. You just better fucking just let the bitch take your fucking camera while Nancy Sinatra singing in the background. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. I love you a long time.
J.D. Vance, clearly a fan of Nikita Koloff.
Yes, we
did
saw
you catch
it.
this, Steve?
I
you have that
had to
available?
throw that out. I threw it
Unbelievable.
out last night. We had a Manchurian candidate. I don't know. People don't get your references, and I don't think that people realize like this wasn't like this wasn't a real deal. Like this wasn't actual NWO members. This was just kind of a much like
frat party type.
Yeah,
thing
like
after...
much like, and a bunch of people, gave him shit about the picture of him in drag, at Yale, and I'm like, I'm more offended by him saying, "Yeah, I know my wife's of color, but she's still a good mom." I'm more offended by that than I am being a drag queen for the night at Yale, but
a lot of people aren't. It's the reverse for a lot of people. And
is this a cricket? Hold on a second.
You have a cricket?
Crooked.
Oh, crooked.
Is it?
You know what? You can decide you were just touching. You can bring that up a little more still.
A little bit more?
Yeah. That's better. That's it right there. That's perfect. Little to the left.
Throw me off.
That's it,
baby. Back to the left. Back.
Listen, I have to ask you too, because this was apparently the most important thing we talked about last week. I guess you were telling a story about asking Braun, can you get Steiner back now that you're a champ? I must have cut you off before you revealed.
I did see
what
that,
he said to you,
and which falls right into me saying the main event at Raw was Sami Zayn versus Braun. 2 out of 3 falls. Sami took the first. Braun came back, 1 clean, basically 2 baby faces. I think that the conversation was that in a perfect world he would like to be a Steiner, but he'll be Braun Breaker and take the strap. So
there you go, everybody.
I think that he realizes he's over. He's gotten over. It's almost like, why fuck with success? Obviously, they're using me. They're doing with it. It's not going to change my pay. I don't own Steiner. That's not going to change anything. He's a good soldier. He's a WWE guy. Right. He came up in their system underneath Paul. So.
Right. Well, it kind of leads into one of our feedback questions from a viewer last week. User FC6W. Guys, put your names in. It's easier than when generic usernames. Anyway, this user says, the match-by-match critique of Slam was great. Kevin, you are so cool, as you point out. This is nitpicky, but if you did this, then it's great to get a veteran's perspective on the current product, as you are so respectful in how you critique. I think they could have cut 5 minutes of Orton and Owens brawling with the Bloodline to give Steiner and Sami more time.
And in actuality, Bronson and Sami went short. They went shorter than they were allowed.
So they weren't told to shorten.
They went home early. So I'm sure
another inside.
I'm sure that user, whoever it was, just said that Paul was in absolute agreement with you, because it was booked for about 3 or 4 more minutes. So
that was one of the critiques, and that's an aspect of putting together a wrestling show. that can be kind of maddening because you want to make sure that what's happening at the end of your card, you've got enough time for, because that's what, everyone's showing up for, right? So everything that happens before has to be pretty rigorous. One of the criticisms I used to hear about Michaels all the time was that he was kind of on his own timer. He went out and did how long he thought it was going to take.
There was a like you had a window back then. So you had 2 hours and 49 minutes, and then after that you had to pay extra money, or you lose the feed or whatever
for the pay-per-view. Yes.
Yeah. So now that isn't that, because I was talking to Gunther, and he was on before the main event, and I said, "Well," he said, "Well, we have 20 minutes." He says, "Well, I think I'll get everything in." I said, "Yeah, but the old saying, if you're not last, you really don't have to worry about going over." And he laughed. He didn't laugh, but he kind of smiled at me. He goes, "It's not like that anymore." He says, everybody gets their time. So.
But back then, though, it was significant, because if I took longer, then I just took something from your match. By my going longer.
I think a lot of top guys had a history of that. There were guys that needed it. Their style was different. If Hulk's the fucking guy, how much time do you need? The differential in Hulk's match on the basic psychology of what he used was how much heat the guy was going to get on him. Because when, sooner or later he was going to,
right.
And shit was on. So that's
But if your match is not, his matches were very regimented. How he'd come out hot, get the heat on his opponent for a while, do the big comeback, and then whatever the finish was going to be, the finish was going to be. But when it was much more open-ended, how aware are you even? I know the ref is in there too, but you're pacing by feel. You're doing this by feel. You don't know you were out there exactly for 17 minutes so far, right?
But I think, this is just speaking for myself. I know within 10 to 15 seconds what I need to get the finish in. So no matter where, you might not, we didn't have everything ironed out exactly to what we were going to do, but we knew that when the time was right and we got the go home, we were either going to do a double down, we were going to do something, and then we would come out of that into the finish. And we knew that we had, say, a minute and a half, so it would say buzzes at 150. Because we do the deal, double down, sell 20 seconds till the people rumble. Then you're up. Now you got 120 to go, and you go into it. Boom, 1, 2, 3. Then you still want there to be 20 seconds minimum of, especially if you're a baby face, of you holding the belt, beauty shot, credits underneath, boom, fade to black. So, but now it's, they're not under those restrictions, but.
Mm-hmm. Right. Al Jackson was watching last week, and he says, great episode here, but y'all don't notice how TNA made WWE greater. From Drew to Borash to the producers, Abyss and Petey. Didn't know Borash was Hunter's favorite. I like that. L.A. Knight making the business boom. Dope y'all talked about SummerSlam. Interesting point about crossover talent that cut their teeth in TNA being used efficiently now. But behind the scenes.
And TNA's still
well, it's there.
It's doing well.
There is no second.
Right. In the world of Japanese monsters, there's Godzilla, and then that's it.
Ant-Man or something.
There's nothing. There's Mothra.
Mothra.
Ghidra. Ghidra was probably the Godzilla's best heel.
I never got into the Godzilla films.
Used
And
to
then
watch
they had
those.
the remake ones, which were...
Used to love the two little Oriental girls in the box. They would call Mothra, whatever the fuck it was.
Two Oriental girls in the box. I saw that film, by the way.
Yeah, two girls. That was actually vivid.
VHS I had under the bed.
Candy samples. Also, and Steve it just flashed me this. We haven't made reference to the fact that TNA is in a partnership with NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah, the Super Overcat's actually a TNA signee.
Well, but I bet that's a more comparable level, right? We're talking about NXT and TNA. You can't really. It's not really competition for WWE.
But I mean, TNA actually owns the rights right now to Joe Henry. So Joe Henry's a very popular young man.
Okay, Tom Gervasi.
I thought it was funny when I first saw the gimmick. I thought, fuck! I said, this is almost like, who did I see the other day? God, I don't know what show it was on. It was NXT or what it was on. I just saw I saw a clip on Instagram, and it's like two dudes that are doing kind of an 80s tag team thing. Like, it feels very 80s. I don't know.
On which show?
The Outrunners. The Outrunners on AEW.
Oh yes, yeah. I saw I've seen them.
I think that's who it is.
A few viewings.
So I like it a lot.
Tom Gervasi, bro, politics is a work. The people that invest themselves in it are marks, bro. It's all kayfabe, bro. Vince Russo voice. So Tom, I was supposed to go, bro, politics is a work. The people that invest themselves in it are marks, bro. It's all kayfabe, bro. That better for you, Tom. A lot of truth to that there. Washington is a bit of a work. John Briones was clearly watching last week when he said, Oliver act like, I'll read it as written. Oliver act like such a queen. Oh my God, I lost weight. My shirt don't fit. No shit. That's what happens. Plus, you couldn't loose it like a man. Had take that shot like a weak queen. Just let Kev run the whole show. He always keeps it real. Well, John, in my desire to be a man like you, I'm going to make some changes in my life. I will. Let's see. Next time I have a migraine, I'm not going to get any medical assistance to achieve my goal of having a healthy, non-headache induced day. I think if I'm injured, if I break my leg or anything, I'm going no cast. I'm going no surgery, no pins, no rods, no nothing. I'm going like John.
You might want a rod.
He's a man.
You might want a rod.
Oh, just a rod.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, not in the leg though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might. Yeah, you might just
anything
want a
happens
rod.
to my rod, I'm not going to take pills. I'll just live with a limp rod.
Anything happens to my rod, I'll kill you. Easy, Francis.
Like John and my limp rod. John, I'll be more like you. I won't. Isn't it telling that we live in a time where anyone who wants to better themselves in any way, achieve some health, some weight loss or whatever, we got to go critical, hard, make fun. That's what I'm not going to do, John. I'm going to be a man and not do that. If I run into somebody who's trying to get a little healthier, however they can, legally, through some medical enhancement, I'm not going to shit on him, John. So I'm going to be a man. hopefully you pick up the ball and run with it someday.
I'm taking my TRT every Thursday. Fuck y'all.
A little testosterone. Is that
Yep, I
what we're
take a
talking
little
about?
testosterone. I have some CJC 1295 with Ipamorelin. I would like to restart that, but I was waiting to come back from Europe. I don't know if it does much. I think it does for recovery. I know it makes I know it makes my pigment come back in my hair and in my beard to a degree. So I know it's reversing.
Oh, maybe I should start it.
It's
Not
reversing the. You're
the
still
aging process.
Yeah, but I mean, you got pigment in your hair.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray in there though mixed around. But all right. So you're considering the TRT.
So you got your hair cut since we did the last show, right?
Yeah. I like to
you,
try and get some height, but
I saw you. Yeah, when I saw you yesterday for the first time, I was just like, oh, we got a haircut.
yeah.
But it only been like 4 days. You know, I saw you whenever.
I ran over you yesterday, I think, or the day before when I got here.
When did we do the last one? That we did on a Thursday, right?
Yeah,
we're back on our normal. We're back on our normal Thursday.
I think we did Wednesday. Oh, wait, the next one? You mean?
No, the last one.
The last one was I think
we
right.
did Wednesday,
Jay on Wednesday, and then
Thursday.
We worked Thursday, and now we're working Tuesday. We're off next week, but there will be a new show. You guys are going to get to see our special guest, Violent J, with us next Monday. So definitely check that out. And Kev, we're back to work on August 29th, I think. Here.
But we'll both be at the Mirage in the meantime. Isn't that where fucking Maher's always at?
Who's always there?
Bill Maher. He's always fucking his show's off on for summer break, but you can see him at the Mirage.
Oh, he does his one night stands there.
He's always at the Mirage. So.
Good God.
So if you're out in Vegas, go by the Mirage and see Bill. Tell him I said
They just demolished one of the classic hotels today. I saw. I think it might have been the Tropicana.
No, it's wasn't it the Wynn one?
No, it was the Mirage.
No, it wasn't Mirage. It wasn't Mirage, right?
They closed the Mirage end of July. Bill
Okay.
Maher plays the MGM now.
So where's Maher at now?
The MGM Grand.
But he doesn't do that big fucking arena, does he?
Probably.
No, he does.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Wow. Fuck,
Yeah.
man.
MGM Grand.
What's he asking there? 89?
89 plus excluding taxes and fees. So 90 before taxes and fees.
I'd fucking pay $90 to watch him live.
Although
You know what? He's the only one that fucking he called. Him and Michael Moore called Trump winning. They both called. Maher called fucking Trump never, if he was to beat, to fucking say he lost. There would never be an exchange of power. Maher said that Biden had to drop out way before anybody else did. He was calling him Ruth Biner Biden. And he was. That was his nickname.
Ruth Bader Biden?
Yeah, Ruth Bader Biden. And he's been on time. He's kind of like, he's way more centralist Democrat than he used to be. So as he's gotten older, I mean, he's kind of fallen into.
Yeah, I get a little whiplash sometimes when I watch Bill. At that little okay.
He's got his specific. I mean, he's very pet friendly. He doesn't like any kind. I mean, he's really into the PETA situation. He's definitely. I mean, he's a Dem, but it's hard to know exactly where he lies because he's got to do a show. You know, so you've got to, if you don't take swings at both the guys, then, or in our case now, one of the guys and the lady, the gal that's running for high office.
Yeah, But isn't that the case though within any party? There's got to be evolution, and there's got to be. I still do contend that we are far the majority people that live in that middle area in both parties. I think we're in a time now where between social media and the desire for people to listen to things salacious and rude, that rises to the top. But I still think the more centrist, blue and red, are in the vast majority.
I mean, I think that the majority of our country wants progression. They want to progress. I mean, that's just it's. I don't think anybody. I just like. I think it was Cranston that they did the interview with, and they were saying, "Let's make America great again." And he's like, "Well, when was it great? Like before the civil rights?"
Right.
That's when it was.
I've seen people have to answer that.
Yeah. When was
well.
it like? When was it great? It's almost to me like I get this feeling when I look at those all like especially like State of the Union when you see all those fucking walking dead people that are fucking senators and that have been there for fucking 9,000 years and they all act like they're but they're all in it together. And
it's like everyone went to a costume party as Tip O'Neill and
yes.
Newt Gingrich.
But that when it comes down to it, like the number one thing that white racist America is all about is they don't know how they can come out and say it, but they definitely want to provide abortions for black and brown people. That's a give me. It's just the white broads that can't fucking have abortions because they're looking at statistics, and pretty soon the black and brown Americans are outnumber the white Americans, and they can't have that. So by whatever means necessary to make sure that the status quo is much like trying to get medical marijuana turned to fucking recreational or to get pro-choice.
60-40?
60-40, baby. It's a 60-40 split. You got to get 60 fucking % before you fucking win. I mean, it's not a 50-50. Nothing's a 50-50 deal. So
I think you've just decoded "Make America Great Again."
I think I might have.
That's the myth. You know what I always wanted to decode is why I was getting so many deductions on my credit card bill for recurring charges on things that I probably forgot that I subscribed to, or maybe didn't even realize.
I think I know where this is going.
You know where this is headed? So, or that, I did a trial and I never canceled the trial. Rocket Money is the conduit to solving problems like that. And the statistics are staggering. About 75% of people are carrying subscriptions right now that they've forgotten about. Okay, myself included. Part of the fun of this app, and it is kind of fun. It's saving you money, but it's also fun to use because the interface goes through and it shows you everybody who's deducting. There's a visual if you're watching. Also credit score monitoring also, but you can see what you're paying in those recurring charges, and with just the tap of the screen, they will cancel those subscriptions for you. If I asked any average person on the street how many subscriptions you got going now, they'd sit there and they'd roll through the streaming channels and stuff, but they're going to forget things that they had no idea they had. But thanks to Rocket Money, no one has to waste money on that stuff anymore. The ones you forgot, the ones you didn't cancel, the duplicates in the home, your wife signed up, you signed up, and you don't realize you're carrying 2 streaming channel subscriptions for the same thing. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. They do that and so much more. They have over 5 million users, saved everybody a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving individual members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. All right, so stop listening to me. Stop wasting time on and wasting money on things that you don't want. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions now by going to rocketmoney.com/Nash. That's rocketmoney.com/Nash. And take back your personal finances. Thank you, Rocket Money. This is certainly a good time to do that. Everyone talking about inflation.
But you were, we had this conversation before. Mine was, it wasn't so much, it was the amount of times I had double.
Right, because T would go upstairs.
Yeah,
subscribe.
we'd have, especially during COVID. Each of us had our own subscription to something. And all of a sudden, when you pull it up, you're like, well. And then we started looking at it, and like some of T's were early in the subscription, so they were much more expensive when there was less options to stream.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like this package with this and this is actually cheaper than what we're paying for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like, all right, a smorgasbord of fuck-ups here.
Yeah, but it's in every home, Kevin. That's why services like Rocket Money are so needed right now. Another
Remember when gas was 47 cents?
Yeah, uphill to school both ways, no shoes in the snow.
What's the lowest you remember gasoline?
See, but I started driving, and so it's not going to be. I started driving in, what was I, 17? In 89.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I missed.
That's after. I mean, fuck. The
gas crisis of 77.
Yeah,
like
oil embargoes and all that shit.
Yep.
Fuck. My senior year, that was the oil embargo.
Yeah.
That was my senior year.
Yeah, it was the real.
And gas went to like 57 cents.
Skyrocketed.
I remember probably 62 was probably the earliest I remember. It was an off station called KO, and it was 25 cents a gallon. I think Mobil was 31 cents a gallon.
Wow.
Can anybody look up what the price of gasoline was in 1962?
Yeah, let's see. I wonder.
One of you cats back there in the fucking tech land. What do we got here?
We got it?
31 cents.
31,
Mobil,
yeah.
I fucking boom. Nailed that. I mean, I remember that. My dad, we used to go and get $2 worth of regular.
$2.
He'd pull up and say $2 worth of regular. Guy would check the oil, fucking do all the windows.
Remember that when you got full service at a filling station?
My dad would always give him 2 bits fucking on the tipski. Little 250.
What is that? What is 2 bits?
A quarter was
a quarter.
Yeah, 2 bits is 50. Yeah. I give him my dad. If I can give him give him a little 2 bits on the side.
Thanks,
those of Bob.
You who want to be part of our live recording.
There's a guy that feeds his family pumping gas.
What? Doing the squeegee on the windows.
I'm gonna hit him with 2 bits. So.
Speaking of squeegees, do you remember when New York City, it was becoming epidemic when the homeless people would squeegee the windows for money?
Piss.
With whatever they dipped that damn
Spit.
thing, puddle water or whatever it was. God, it was, and you always got nailed. And when you came out of the tunnel, like Lincoln Tunnel, and made that left onto 42nd Street, and they would come up. I remember it was a big deal when they said they were going to lock them up. I think there was some resistance to, they're trying to make money, but it's invasive. They just came up and threw that shit on your car and started that liquid, and then started squeegeeing it off. There was no asking. So, sign of the times. Sign up at kliqthistv.com to hang with us before the show, ask questions, see this, early access to the special guest shows when they pop up, like Violent J that you'll all see next week. Dude, I was bummed the other day when I got the text about Taskmaster. I said this to you last night. I didn't know things were that bad. I knew about the accident, and then I knew he was out of the hospital. So I thought he was being rehabilitated. I saw there was like a GoFundMe or something for the continued medical expenses. I didn't know that he was in this much danger.
See, he didn't smart up. He didn't really smarten up anybody.
But you'd known that it was.
I knew he had. I knew that he was. Because we talked, and he had congestive heart. Some congestive heart problems. And the last time I saw him, God, I was with my buddy Dave Hero. We were at a signing, and we all had dinner together. That was like the last time I sat down with Kev. And
how long ago?
Maybe a year.
Okay.
And I could tell he was weak. He was, plus, he'd been there all day. It was late. It was probably 9:30 when we were catching food. But he was quiet. But one of the best, man. I mean, just he was a great character. He was believable, and he wasn't he wasn't a very big man. But he was muscular. I mean, he had some gigantic, thighs.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew how to get over, and he definitely knew what heat was. And when he got a chance to be on the creative end, I mean, I've said it a million times that if we don't have Kevin Sullivan, it wouldn't have mattered who was the third man. Because if we didn't have heat and the ability to pour heat onto us and not let the baby faces, Jody Hamilton explained it to me the best, I think. He said, when you're a heel, he said, it's like a hot air balloon. He said, you got to fill the balloon up. And then you've got it, once the balloon's full, then you've got to have it elevate. And the higher that thing goes, the more money you draw. Because sooner or later, it's gonna get knocked down. And he said, but while you're trying to get that heat, he said every time somebody gets to you, it just drops another 300 feet. Then you got to get. He says, so it's best if you can do it, and you can get the baby faces to agree. And that's one thing I will say for Sting and Lex and Randy, for the crew of guys that was working as baby faces, Piper, Rick, Mongo, congratulations, Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Arn,
saw that.
All those guys that were working as baby faces, that they let us. We got a shitload of heat on them week after week after week. And if it wasn't for them being giving, then it wouldn't happen.
Kevin was the type of creative that was most like when I say TV writer, I don't mean wrestling TV writer. I mean someone writing episodic scripted television for actors, where it was all about, or writer, it's all about character, right? And it's like the consistency of character, what would be expected, there wasn't a lot of gimmickry in what he was doing. I remember talking to him. He did an episode, he did a bunch of stuff for me when I was with Kayfabe. And one of the things he talked about when I was somewhat critical of the Dungeon of Doom. And now this is before Hogan puts on the black and white, right? So Hogan first comes over. And you got guys in the company like Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, stuff. And Kevin said, I had to get people Hogan could beat. So it's the specific personalities on the chessboard.
Yeah, he kind of took the psychology of what was, because Hulk was still in that, the red and yellow, so he was kind of using that same format, and he just put a Dungeon of Doom together. A lot of those guys, like Typhoon,
They were what Hogan was going through.
Yeah, he went
85,
through,
86.
exactly. It was, it was, now it was Shark, and it was this, Earth, so.
So you're having worked closely with Kevin, and you've always, even before this week, you've always talked to me about how much you liked him and how much you respected him for the work that he did with you guys there. When the external pressures were starting, let's say, in WCW, Kevin was one of those guys, I think, that got scapegoated and patsied a little bit when those changes were happening. Did you sense a frustration in Kevin, hating what was happening at the corporate level with WCW? Did he express to you that?
No, because with him, he was never relieved of duty, really.
Well, he was there till the end.
Yeah.
Or right before, maybe.
He was all, like, anybody that spent the time to talk to him, like, he was my right hand. Like, when I was creative, I really leaned on Kevin more than anybody, but also Mike Graham. Mike Graham was smart as fuck. So that was kind of, and then at that same time, Dusty was in there with us, and Dusty was pushing, to try to get the creative control. So we were kind of antagonists, but at the same time, all four of us kind of was it was a situation where it didn't matter where a good idea came from, as long as it was a good idea. Like, you could be in the business for a week and have a good idea. A good idea is a good idea. You didn't have to be, top of the card or anything else.
Kevin, as a worker, one of those guys like a Buzz Sawyer too, maybe, where it looked like he was murdering somebody legitimately.
Kevin moved down Kevin lived here. He lived in Daytona Beach at the Peninsula for years and years and years. Yeah.
So he was in the Keys too?
Well, that was later. He moved from here to Islamorada.
Oh, okay.
And he owned, he had a gym down there called Froggy's. Which is still there. And so we went down one year on the way to Key West, and we spent probably 3 days in Islamorada so I could hang out with Kev. And it was our best friends, Vince and Tammy at that time, and then Max, their son, and then it was Tristan, Tamara, and myself. And we went to Kevin's house, and Kevin lived on the Gulf side of Islamorada. And we all still to this day, Vince has passed on, and then he was the first, and then Tristan passed. So it kind of, decimated the six of us. It was just like, but we all talk about that day specifically because it was the hottest day on earth. And we were sitting out and we were drinking beers at Kevin. But Kevin was so patient with T and Max. He took him down and showed him where to snorkel, and,
Well, he would. I heard from people who've been down there when you're out back with him, he would say, "You guys want some lobster?" And he'd put a fucking mask on, jump in, and come up with a lobster.
Oh, yeah.
It was that plentiful, I guess, down there.
Yeah, he was such a great host. And we went out that night, and he had a buddy named John that went out with us. John was hanging out that night, and Vince and I were each other's worst company when it came. We especially like in the Keys, man, we'd drink, and we drank so much that night. I should say it was like maybe 7:00 a.m. when we call it a day, whatever the fuck. Mm-hmm. It was probably from noon to 7 a.m. the next day. And that John said to fucking, he said, I had a headache for fucking 6 weeks. John was so hungover. It was just like, but so T really liked Kevin, and then when we got back, you know, like T and I we talked about Kevin when we were down in the Keys, down in the Key West, and I told him, I said, man, I said, you got to look up some of Kevin's like work, and he found some stuff from Japan where Kevin's got the spike and he's just gouging people and they're bleeding all over the place, and my son just thought like, oh my God, like this guy's he's the shit, man.
Oh yeah.
So
He's scary, but even just shit like a squash match, the forearms.
oh,
He looked like he was murdering someone.
there was a breed of guys in that era when you sat back as a greenhorn and you watched them. I remember the first time I watched Abdullah the Butcher come on Saturday TV from center stage, and he had like a handicap match against two job guys. And he beat the fuck out of him with one of those kendo sticks. And I don't think the thing was gimmicked. I mean,
I don't think those sticks were, because they were.
Yeah, you can gimmick them where they're a little bit they're a little bit tamer than the real deal.
Yeah, but you're still getting hit with a fucking stick, even if it's.
But it's like, I just watched him. I said, wow. I remember watching Rude when Rude, I think it was Super Brawl or something like that, was from that we were at the Mecca in Milwaukee, and at the end of the show, like Sting went over, but then Rude like attacked him in the back, and Rude fucking like hit Steve with like 4 or 5 like live shots, swelled Sting's eye all up, and I remember when I was going up and down the road, and I just looked at him, I said, man, I said, don't you worry about coming in and being that careless? He goes, man, you got one fucking time to come in your first time to get over. He said, I can say I'm sorry and fucking beg for a receipt the fucking rest of the time I'm there. He said, that fucking first impression, he said, you get that once. I was just like, okay. Got it.
Kevin also built his career and stayed relevant without having gone to WWE after he established stardom. He worked for Vince Sr. as a jobber in, I think, 76. I know this because our series Timeline that we used to produce, when we would choose somebody to cover a year in a federation, one of the things was they had to work on near the top and they had to be there all year. And once you got like into the 70s, because of all the territories, nobody stayed anywhere for a year. So it was very hard filling in years like 76, 75. So, and I remember Anthony doing all the research. He said there's one name who was here from January to December. I said, who? He said, Kevin Sullivan, doing jobs. But after he achieved prominence with the pencil, but also in the ring, he never cashed in.
Because he had that great Florida run.
That made him. Yeah.
I mean,
early 80s Florida.
That was the territory.
Yeah.
You know.
And doing the other thing, I don't know that I realized this, but he did the dark kind of occult thing. There's one word he never said was the devil or Satan. And he was able to, I remember talking to him about, he said, through the Buddha Dean and all this shit that people didn't know what I was talking about, but I never had to get specific with Satan or nothing like that. And he was right. He was able to do it just by building this kind of mystical figure, scary.
I think my favorite Kevin Sullivan quote is, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. That was.
He had so many. My favorite.
Fuck, man.
It was on the air in one of our shows together. It might have been. Everyone's talking about this one now. Steve, we should get it up if I don't have it. Kevin Sullivan and the end of WCW kind of dovetails into two things that are popular in wrestling media right now. But we sat him down. It was a special investigative special on the channel. And we went through the last 5 months, week by week, read what was happening on camera and behind the scenes, to get his take of what was going on in the locker rooms and offices as this shit was falling apart. It's fascinating. It was one of our best performing titles, and it wasn't even one of our series. But I think it was on that one he said, you know the old saying, right? What do old prostitutes, old buildings, and old politicians have in common? I said, what? He goes, credibility. That's Kev, man.
Yeah. Never, I mean, it's just so blessed to walk down that fucking aisle in that stupid fucking Oz outfit and have him going, welcome to Oz! Welcome to Oz! Choking a fucking monkey in front of me and not realizing, that's so fucking etched and golden in my mind. And then a week later, sitting in the Holiday Inn, and Nancy's at the table, and Kevin's at the table, and we're smoking a fatty. And I looked at him, I said, Kev, I don't get it, man. I don't get the gimmick. He said, brother, take the fucking money. You know, he says, you know how many people, yes, he said, no, how many fucking, he said, you're making six figures. Let me fucking take the money. Shut the fuck up. Pass that joint. He was just like, it was one of those things where I just like, you know, my mentors were guys that when they told me shit, it was just like, okay, I definitely met you for a reason. Get your shit in, get over, stay strong, get your fucking money, take your money. Shut the fuck up.
Something anyone didn't read my book Kayfabe may not know. The only time I was booked in any angle by a wrestling booker was by Kevin Sullivan at the roast of the Iron Sheik. I get James, one of the other promoters, calls me up texts me, come up to room whatever. Like, what's going on? I had a million things to do. Big production, the roast, the comedians, wrestlers. And it was the first time we were trying anything like this. And he said, we want to have Sheik hit Brian. I said, we can't do that, Brian Blair. Because they had that stupid thing that Sheik would cut promos on our only shoot interviews.
I think he just wanted to humble him.
Right, old country way. I said, no. He said, Brian's in the room. Just come up here. So I walk in. The way I describe in the book, I walked into 1987. It was a hotel room filled with smoke. I almost couldn't see. The little clock radio is playing like the Allman Brothers or something, and everyone's sitting around. Sheiky's sitting there with a St. Pauli girl. Brian's next to him like his best friend. And Sullivan's at some of the other workers and crew, and Sullivan's there. And I'm like, okay. Well, he's like, all right, here's how we're going to do this. Because I walk in and they're all talking. Sullivan stands up. He goes, all right, we're going to do it this way. And he lays the whole thing out. He turns to me. He goes, now you've been on Law and Order, so you can do this. So you got to be a part of this now. Puts us all in, books the slap. So I was actually part of a Kevin Sullivan booked angle.
You're blessed.
I'm blessed to have worked. But more than all this, Kevin, more than all the wrestling stuff we're talking about, there's a handful of guys, maybe you were one of them, who I looked forward to seeing, not
Always.
Getting a show, sitting down and having a meal, talking about the Red Sox. Or I didn't follow baseball. I was always give him shit about the Patriots, but talking sports and the market. He was big into real estate. I always talk about real estate with him. I just looked forward. We used to call him Grandpa. I always looked forward to seeing Grandpa when he came, and those are the things that I remember when I think about Kevin Sullivan. He's a great worker. But
yeah,
he was a great guy.
Man, it's hard, when you lose, losing people fucking sucks, but I've been so blessed by the people that have I've crossed paths with.
Yeah.
The three guys that I just mentioned that I counted on when I was, semi in charge of creative. But Dusty's gone, Kevin's gone, and Mike's gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We had Kevin on. Fortunately, he was one of the people when we first started bringing guests on for our premium Kliq This TV subscribers. We both said, Kevin, immediately when we were going through lists of people. And we have a couple of moments here that we can show from that of Kevin and his brilliance. Well, I don't know what the content is. Just bring up the first clip. We'll see what...
Well, one of the things, biggest compliment I ever got, Jim Barnett sat in the dressing room and watched me give finishes. And I would bring the two guys in, and I would immediately separate myself from them by saying, Steve, you got to do a job for Kevin tonight. I wouldn't say that. I would say, Steve, you got to do Kevin a favor tonight. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. Well, what's he going to say? If I say you're going to do a job for Kevin, he may have a rebuttal, but he's not going to say, no, I'm not putting Kevin over because I'm doing him a favor. And in turn, that favor should come back sometime. And if it doesn't, it wasn't in the cards. And Barnett said, I had never seen anybody put people so much at unease where they had to make the decision.
Right.
He was great. I never understood.
He was great.
You ever wonder why?
Who's that?
That fucking guy who spent 60 minutes.
Oh, at the end.
Rooney.
Oh, Jesus. Rooney, yes.
Yeah. You ever wonder why?
Glenn Jacobs hit the news a little bit today. They were asking him if he was considering a presidential run. And I know you saw him recently.
Yeah.
And
it was so funny though, man. And I talked to Glenn and I had a nice chance to catch up, and I said it on our last show. I said that he just said what a fucking rotten business it is.
And basically in this article, he says
he says that he said, would you go to fucking Washington? He says no. He says you think you can clean that swamp up and you can't. I think that he could do well, especially in Tennessee, running as governor.
And that's probably, because he talked about Washington as being, a cesspool, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but did say that he saw a lot of importance at the state level. So that would, I guess, a gubernatorial
It's still,
run.
I think it's the most Republican of the states as far as the state representative base and everything else. It's and it used to be like when I went to college there, it was a very Republican state, but not like it is now. Now it's like very, very Republican.
John Cena also revealing there's going to be 36 dates in 2025 that you'll be able to go see him on his retirement tour, and also said that if he does anything for WWE again, it would be in a suit and not in sweatbands. And
I like that. I like when somebody, I like this. He's having a retirement tour, not a match. And when that tour's over, he's done. I like that.
That's the plan, yes. And so maybe hinting at a executive type spot or a producer type spot.
I think he's got a, I think in the article I read, he was plugging I think it was an Amazon or a Prime film that he had. So he's still going to do, what he's going to do film wise. And, but I just like the fact that, and how old is John? John's going to be 48 by now.
Oh, he's probably around my age. You don't think he's over 50?
I don't think he's over. I don't think he's, because Dwayne just turned 50. And he's older than Dwayne. 47 is how old John is.
All right.
So, shit. I mean, at 47, I still had shit. I was fine. It didn't really hit me till about 53, 54, 55 that it was just like I was really slowing. I could feel it. My body was just. But up until then, I mean, I could still work at TNA. You know, I got lean. I lost a bunch of weight and got lean. And
if they'd proposed to you to do a retirement tour like that, is that something that would have interested you, or would you prefer to just go out the old-fashioned way?
You know, man, I would be so afraid if I said, you know, like, yeah, I could do it at 47, but, you know, at the age that I decided to retire, I just said, you know what, man, fuck this. Like, once I got my knee replaced, and that was, you know, I was structurally, like, all those years of damage that I had taken off by having that replaced. But all of a sudden, man, like, you have a G.I. Joe leg. Like, your leg bends this way. There's no move this way in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, those knees in the corner and all that shit that I did, that is as limited as it was painful as fuck, because I was twisting shit, and my hips were so, my leg had so much valgus in it for so long that my hip was rotated, you know, and my navel was fucking probably 4 inches off center. Like, I was a fucking wreck, so I had to kind of retrain my whole body. And while I did that, everything I did was I had to do singular leg training, and it was a fucking process.
Yeah.
Do you ever train legs? Yeah, fucking every week. But I said,
right.
a guy was looking at me the other day. I trained legs on Sunday. He looked over at me. He goes, "Fuck," he says, your legs are shredded. I said, "Yeah, no shit." I said, "I play basketball." I said, "They might not be gigantic." I said, "But there ain't no fat on them." I said, "Fuck, man, I basically ran up. I did 90-foot fucking sprints. That's what my genetic makeup is."
All right, Florida man, Jersey guy here. 2 headlines. 1, a Florida man behind the said actions, and 1, a Jersey guy. And if you're going to play along, I think the secret of the game is just to let the headline wash over you and go with what. Don't be too cerebral about it, I think I'm trying to say. All right, first headline. Man arrested after trying to withdraw 1 cent from bank. Second headline. One-legged man attacked at ShopRite over grocery cart dispute.
Second one's Jersey. First one's Florida.
Correct.
We don't have ShopRites.
Oh, is that? Did I fuck that up? You don't have any shop. We don't have any ShopRites down here. Okay.
No, we don't have any ShopRites in Florida. Not that I know of.
Well, you probably would have got it anyway.
You know when fucking here's a sign that shit's fucked up. When Walgreens and CVS's are closing by the fucking bushel. That's when you know fucking you got some problems.
You're going to get probably what you're going to get is those installations where like by me here, the CVS is in Target. So
you know what's going into all the CVS's is dollar store signs or Dollar Tree, like those kind of things.
Replacing the CVS.
That's a perfect exchange. Just, you know, get rid of one shit box and put another shit box in there.
All right, the high spot of the show every week is a visit from our friend Mickey Ray Sinatra and Courtney and their Get Blitzed Lit Aid. The real shit. What I'm talking about. Nano-infused Delta-9 THC sipping syrup. I've tried it. Kevin's tried it. The whole crew here has tried it. They're out killing it at the gathering. Friends go juggalos out there. Going to be trying it as well. We're talking about Delta-9 sipping syrup. Super potent stuff like THC on steroids. It's a syrup. Mix it in any beverage, really. Flavored THC syrup to blend with any beverage that you enjoy. Sodas, teas, anything. Fast onset, 5 to 15 minutes. So you don't want to play around with this, okay? Treat it seriously. Give yourself a teaspoon, as little as a teaspoon. And nano-infused, by the way, means it goes right to your bloodstream, bypasses the breakdown in the liver, okay? So it gets there fast and in full capacity. So a teaspoon means a teaspoon. If you're in Maryland, you can go visit our friends at the Stay Lit Smoke Shop. But for the rest of us, it's legal to ship right from the Get Blitzed website to all 50 states without a med card, as long as you're over 21. And right now, you could save 15% by entering the code Kliq KLIQ at checkout. Go to get-blitzed.com. That's get-blitzed.com, or try the Delta 9 THC Sip and Sear Lit Aid from Get Blitzed. Get-blitzed.com. Use that promo code Kliq KLIQ. Get that 15% off. Now, if you're listening to this, you were there already. But if you're part of the live audience and you go into the gathering, there's a special limited edition label on their new seltzers called the Kliq This line. You have the choice of Sean's Blue Raz Lemonade or Kev's Key Lime. With a special label. It's only going to be sold at the gathering. The ones that are going to hit the stores are going to be a different label. I can attest to that and guarantee that is going to happen. So you're truly getting a collector's item if you are grabbing it at the gathering. So thank you, Mickey. Thanks,
Mick. Hope you had fun.
God, imagine putting together a festival like the gathering. Just the logistics of all of it. Any show with one stage and one band or two bands is one thing. Just organizing that madness.
I mean, just to run a wrestling show and run a music
That's
show
true too.
at the same time. Just to run a wrestling show, and that's crazy enough.
And then to sift through like what's the right, because they have a very strong identity, ICP, and it's the reason that the Juggalos is such a dedicated fan base. They buy all their shit, and we've talked about that with them. You'll see it next week if you're not part of the Kliq This TV club. But so many, you got to pick the right talent, right? It's all about getting the talent that is consistent with that vibe. You don't need some Fat Elvis showing up, getting on stage.
Speaking of Fat
Elvis. Fat Elvis in the news again.
Yeah, Fat Elvis made the Atlantic. Steve, pulling
bring
up
that headline.
Yeah, we can read the way the guy used.
And who wrote it? We got to give somebody the credit, the proper credit for it here. Tom Hartman. I'm sorry, Tom Hartman.
So this is by Tom Hartman, and
the comparison is that Elvis, the political downfall of Trump, is being likened to the Fat Elvis years, Kevin.
The simple reality of that Trump has entered the Fat Elvis phase of his career. He hasn't grown or developed new routines. He's just reliving his old hits every day, playing to nostalgic and mostly elderly audiences who fondly remember his glory days. Glory days.
The big difference is, though, I think at any time, I don't think Elvis would have talked about black jobs, that there was a segment of the country taking black jobs.
Well, I mean,
what are black jobs? Anyway?
Well, I mean, obviously, because he's Fat Elvis, I would think a black job would be president of the United States right now. Oh,
might be in a couple of months, right?
Yeah, it might be. That's a black job.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. What was his name again? Tom. Good article.
Harrington? Is that what it was?
I don't know, Tom. Hartman. There we go. Tom Hartman. Very good.
Sorry, Tom. Tom Hartman.
Steve Kaufman with the assist on this segment.
Not to be mistaken with Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Another culturally relevant reference.
Always. I mean, if
you would have popped RD.
Somebody the other day said, I was reading a comment. They said, "I can't believe he's 65." Obviously, you've never Googled any of my references.
You never listened to
The fact that I knew how much gas was in 62 should be a fucking home run.
You would have popped RJ City with that, no doubt. Fernham Schnavitz is weighing in this week once again, Kevin, lobbying for a T-shirt. I think he deserves one. When you went to SummerSlam, did you see and talk to Bruce Prichard at all?
No.
Was he there?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't see Taker. I didn't see, it was like, number one, I came in late, like, not that I missed anything, but I just, I wanted to come in and have some food and then go see Paul and go watch the show. I'm not going to go. I'm not real fond of all the concerts I've been to. I don't recall ever going to a mic check. So,
right. You can actually pay about $1,000 to get your VIP sound check pass now for all the tours, all the add-ons they do. Greg Pitt, does Kevin remember when he and X-Pac were taking over Nitro commentary and Heenan had his foot stuck in the headphone cable? You recall this?
I don't remember. As Scott Hall would say, I don't remember what the fuck I had for breakfast.
I have. Do we?
I got 3 hours of deep tissue work today.
Was that? Is that a euphemism for whacking off into a Kleenex? And why did it take you 3 hours?
No, because I'm fucking a complete fucking mess.
Okay, so let me see. This will probably get copyright.
She dug into my left glute for about an hour.
If we don't have the. All right, so anyone who's listening is seeing Kev and Pac coming, and Bobby is caught laying on the table. He looks like a Labrador laying on his side, about to take a piss, trying to raise his leg. Very see, fans remember this stuff, there? Kev.
Is this the one we cut the? Is this I think this is the one where they were Bischoff and they were all doing something else, and I cut a promo, like a shoot promo for the people that actually had to show up for TV. This was a heat. I remember this being a heat. I can tell. I don't remember this because I'm pissed. So, yeah. I remember people clearing, but I just remember just Pac and I coming down.
Smokey, I'd like to know your thoughts on Vince Vaughn's view about R-rated comedies. Will the edgy, not so politically correct comedies make a return? God, I hope so. Comedy's danger, man.
I don't watch. What did I watch last night?
Raw.
I watched a movie, though. It was with Jason Bateman, and he moves to California from Chicago, and he runs into a guy that they used to fuck with in high school. Like, they ruined this guy's life. And this guy fucking flips it around, and is it called Next? Maybe. God,
it's comedy.
No, it's a fucking dark. It's fucking twisted.
Oh, sounds fun. All right, audience, let's
The
talk
Gift.
To
That's
Kev.
it.
Oh, The Gift.
Next, The Gift. Fucking right in the ballpark there.
If you get a gift, you were obviously next.
Yeah, exactly.
Have it handed to you. What do we have in the house here? I know we have some friends with us, KliqThisTV.com members, who would like to ask Kevin the following. Kevin Gilbalt. Okay, now I have another movie question for Kevin. Has he watched The Expendables, and if he has, what type of character would he play?
I've never watched one of those movies.
That's the one where they got all the.
I just never watched one.
Okay. Who else? Tyler Blair. Thoughts on the Machine Guns possibly coming to WWE? Also, what do you think about Punk's allusion to a possible strap match?
I don't think he's got anywhere to go but a strap match. the guns coming to WWE would be fantastic. And a strap match makes sense because, once again, you could have another layer to this match without somebody absolutely doing a clean job.
Very good.
Push it forward.
Who else? Heading Ike. Have you ever had Cincinnati Chili? If yes, what'd you think of it? It's certainly unique. Is it a chain, Cincinnati Chili?
No, it's...
or it's just a style of chili?
I'm kind of a chili guy, so I'm sure I've had Cincinnati Chili.
Not too far from Detroit either.
Yeah, it's like 5 hours.
That's close. To chili. Chili can spread dozens of hours throughout.
I might need to eat some chili tonight to move that strip steak.
Get that steak moving along down south. Who else?
I ate like a pound of baked potato, and I ate that fucking giant salad. I ate a shitload of spinach.
The corn was rather good as well.
Yeah, it was roasted corn.
Yes, it was.
Like a Southwest roasted corn. That was good. It was good. It was a great meal. Thank you you picked up the meal last night, so I just wanted to say thank you. The pole vault guy that caught his package, he went to clear it. He cleared it. He went to clear it, but his cock and balls knocked the fucking the
bar off.
The bar off. Yeah.
When I watch that event and I never watch the event, I just see a clip maybe somewhere in a documentary or something. There you go. That's an amazing still. It's like laying, he almost it looks like it deliberately laid it sideways, parallel to the pole. I always wonder, has anybody ever come down awkwardly on the pole
gimmick
that they're vaulting with?
No, because it gets stuck in the box. But it
doesn't. It couldn't slide out of that.
No, because it's almost because of the height of it. Like you run and you plant, then it bends. When you let it, so when you push up, as you're getting, you push it away from you to get over.
Right.
I'm sure that in high school where they're doing 12. I remember we had a guy in high school and they used to have a box that you unscrewed the gym floor, and there was a fucking pole vault box there
underneath,
and they would put the fucking porta pit. Because I high jumped, so we were in the gym together because I high jumped.
Very good. Who else can wrap us up here? Another one of our friends, Mr. Epic. Do you think the states will ever allow stem cell treatments? It seems to have done wonders for you. After my stroke, I've always been curious if it could help.
I think there's a chance they'll allow, but it of course will be on a 60-40 vote.
It's got a hurdle to clear.
Yes.
Without getting your cock banged on the hurdle.
You don't want to get your cock banged on it.
Kliq This is a production of Butch and Sundance Media, produced in association with Podcast Heat, created by Fat Elvis, Tristan Nash, Kevin Nash, and Sean Oliver. Producer Steve Kaufman, graphics by Dominic D'Angelo, title sequence and audio edit by Wesley Burleson, theme song by Dale Oliver, technical research by Tristan Nash, copyright 2024, Butch and Sundance Media. Kev, you want to do another one?
Yes, sir.
Let us free. Customer service never answers the